Hello, welcome to Smash Hit Sports. I'm Cody, that's Nick, and we are finally here. Nick, this is our week one preview. College football is so back, and it feels so good. We'll do a quick week zero recap before we get into week one. But before we get started, make sure you like this video. It's a huge help to the podcast, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. We do a video every single week during football season. And Nick, let's quickly talk week zero. There were 4 games played. Nobody cares about Hawaii, Delaware State. They won. Great. SMU beat Nevada. They won. Great. Montana State comeback was insane. They were down 17 in the fourth quarter, came back to win that game against New Mexico. That was an awesome, awesome football game. New Mexico shouldn't have been in it, but they had 2 fumble recoveries for a touchdown. Wild shit. That's college football, though. I love it.
Yeah.
But down goes a top 10 team in Ireland, week 0, Florida State, after being absolutely snubbed in the college football playoff by the committee. And they say, Kirk Herbstreit, you fucking bent us over and fucked us. And all of the fans were so pissed off. And they go into Ireland with all their signs saying that everybody screwed them over, and everybody was wrong, and everybody was hurt. And then Georgia Tech just came out there and whooped that ass for 4 quarters. Like, it was a physical game. It was a great game, like a sound football game by both teams. Like, there weren't a whole hell of a lot of mistakes. And Georgia Tech won. And it was a great, great first game of the college football season. And I know you got to be enjoying this, man. I know you got to be enjoying this.
Yeah.
So what'd you think of that game?
Oh, man. It really was like the most beautiful start to the season that you could ever dream of. It's like in Tom Brady Patriots losing to the 0-16 Lions in week 1. Like, I'd just be like on top of the world seeing, not like I'm obviously a Florida State hater, but I am now double the hater that they now have DJU, and the nitwits there were saying, like, well, DJU's good. He's good. He's great. He's going to do well this year. It's like, no, he's not. You guys didn't watch him at Oregon State. You just looked at the stats and said that he was good. He was a game manager there. Damian Martinez was that offense. DJU does not have anything in him. He's slow as hell too. People, he's built like a running back. He's just as fast. No, he's not. He's the slowest guy I've ever seen in my life. He is really bad, and it is something that I just tried to tell so many people for so long. So I really wanted to be right, and I thought it would take me a while before I could be like, hey, look, Florida State's not what you guys thought they were. And now I get to do it immediately. In our first week preview episode, I get to talk about the fact that Florida State is not as good as everyone thought. Everyone had them as like the 3 seed in the playoff this year. No way, Jose. I know they could obviously win 12 games still. No, not going to happen. Not with DJU. It's just impossible. So, yeah, I am on top of the world in that sense. I watched the game. Their defensive line got absolutely gashed. Georgia Tech was running untouched the entirety of the game. It felt like there were some runs that it doesn't make any logical sense how that could even happen. Like, how it's like the defensive line was completely absent. Like a run, like an inside zone run down the middle, and there's a gap the size of the frickin' Gibraltar Strait. It was insane. The Florida State, the only thing they really did that was really impressive, in my opinion, was that their kicker looks really good. But other than that, I think Georgia Tech is a really good team. But Florida State fans are probably coping, saying, well, they're going to be ranked. I don't think any of that's true. I think this is just Florida State failed, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, Georgia Tech's offense did look good. They ran quite a bit of power, quarterback power, like Haynes King. They brought in a backup quarterback, scored the first touchdown of the game for them at the goal line. But they ran a fun brand of offense. Florida State, it was check down city offensively. Like they just threw at or behind the line of scrimmage so much, and they never took any shots downfield. Real weird.
Dude, we got our offensive coordinator fired at Clemson because of like the bubble screens and all of this, like throwing behind the line of scrimmage. And we were like, that's the reason we suck. It's because of Brandon Streeter. I'm sure he just looked at DJU was like, I can't do anything else. This is what we have to do. And of course, that shit doesn't work either. So, yeah. Anyway, keep going.
In your opinion, I think maybe this might be a hot take. I think getting upset in week 0 is the worst weekend of the college football year to lose because there's only 4 games. And for you to get upset in week 0, they are now the punching bag for every other fan base. Because normally on any given college football Saturday, half the teams win, half the teams lose. That's not the case this Saturday. Yeah. Every other team watched and your team fucking lost. Yeah. So in my mind, losing week 0 sucks.
Yeah. You're right.
Sucks.
For 7 days, like let's say Clemson gets dog walked by Georgia, we're going to hear it. But like you're saying, there's all these other teams. There's going to be a team that loses to some team they shouldn't. And we're like, well, we lost to Georgia. Of course we did. They're number 1. We were in Atlanta. You know, right now, everyone's looking at Florida State. Now, I will counter that. It's a double-edged sword because losing in week 0 gives you a lot of time to rebuild your reputation in the eyes of the committee by the end of the year. Like, it's like they're going to drop in the rankings, but if they continue to win, let's say they're 9-1 at some point, and there's a 10-0 team in front of them in the rankings that had the same schedule pretty much. If that 10-0 team loses and Florida State wins, Florida State will be higher in the poll because of just that's how it works. Because they lost earlier and the other team just lost. It's just how it goes. So in that sense, get your loss out of the way now, but we're going to shit on you a lot. So now one other thing I want to talk about is, well, I guess there's a couple things, but Georgia Tech's defense last year was terrible. This year, it looked like they couldn't stop the run to save their lives last year. Like obviously there's the Miami game where they did, but this, like, I feel like people, even like Saban on game days, like, you know, I like Georgia Tech, but Florida State's going to beat him because there's no reason for me to believe that Georgia Tech is going to just magically become dominant in the trenches defensively. And they looked dominant in the trenches defensively. So that's the argument that I could hear about Georgia Tech maybe actually being like a shocking, you know, part of this season where they are like at the very top of the ACC at the end, where it's like, oh my God, Georgia Tech, what's going on? Like, this is crazy, because it doesn't look like they really are missing that many things besides maybe the big play pass. Like, I don't know if Haynes King has that in his bag as much, but he could probably get there. He's a great quarterback.
Yeah. No, Georgia Tech, I know this started off as a shitting on Florida State fest, but like Georgia Tech, they deserve their flowers. They played very good football, and they deserve to win that game. Also, their linebacker, number 44, that's the most linebacker of all time.
Yeah, I saw
the cowboy collar, the all black face,
the big
all black.
Fucking yeah. Dude, I hope that guy makes it to the league.
Number 44, that dude.
It's like a fullback, really. It's like a fullback that became a linebacker, which is what a perfect like prototype.
I hope to God that man just plays college football for like 5 years and then becomes a strength coach. Yeah. That's what that man was built for. Yeah. That's what he was built for. All right.
I wanted to talk about the SMU game because I think that was important to talk about because, I mean, I didn't watch, but I was tracking it. And I mean, I thought they were freaking dead in the rights. They were going to lose that game to Nevada for sure. It is a miracle that they won, in my opinion. Shout out Preston Stone. He's absolutely the reason that they did win at the end. But it has me thinking SMU might not be ready for ACC football at all. Like, this might be like we were both like, I might have been a little more reasonable, but they might not make a bowl game, dude. Like from what I saw, I'm like, oh God. It's not good.
Yeah, I was a little concerned. Now, I will say this. SMU destroyed them in pretty much every category. Like in most categories. They outgained them by over 100 yards. Like they were better in almost every aspect. SMU had just one turnover, but they also lost, or they had 2 fumbles but didn't lose any. They had an interception. Like it was a weird sort of game. So I will say that SMU looked better than the score came out as. But I agree that like I'm now a little bit concerned about my very, very high praise of SMU prior to the start of the season.
It's tough because like, again, I didn't watch, so like, yes, they outgained, but the spread was like 30 or like 28 and a half.
25.
20. Yeah, it was like really high. And you know, a lot of people were on SMU, and it's just the idea of like that they could have lost that game, and that would have been like maybe the biggest spread upset of the entire season by the end of the year. Like that's
it would have been the biggest spread upset of the year last year had it happened.
There you go. Right. So like,
yep.
Yes, they looked better. Like they fucking should have dog walked this team. So I think they should have looked like a hell of a lot better, and maybe just looked a little bit better and ended up barely winning and were losing by 12 late in that game. Like it's concerning. You know, there are some other ACC teams that I can see having the same trouble in a week 0 game. So I think SMU is still going to get wins, obviously. But I no longer think that like anyone like, double-digit win SMU, no way, right? That's got to be off the cards. And I think I had them at 8-4, and I think I'm worried about that as well.
Yep. Shout out RJ Maryland for SMU. Their tight end went 8 for 162 and a tutter. I mean, dog.
There you go.
Dog.
Saving face.
All right. But before we get into our next segment, the betting guide, you've heard me talking about it before, but I'll talk about it again. I put together a 100+ page betting guide for this college football season. It is not just what teams to bet on. My picks are in there. Obviously, Nick, your picks are in there as well for our season-long bets. But this is a tool that you can use week in and week out to make better decisions when you place your college football bets. All of my bets will always be free, and I will always put them out publicly. But what this is it is a 100+ page tool to help you make the best college football bets that you possibly can. It's a one-time payment of $20, and it is worth every single penny, in my opinion. It will help you win some college football bets this season. And Nick, not to brag, started out 2-0.
Yes, sir. I started out 1-0 because of it.
Let's go. Let's go.
Undefeated so far.
All right. We're going to play a little categories, Nick. For this week, it is future games. But for upcoming weeks, I think it may be past games that we do this for. We'll see. We'll tweak it. That being said, we're going to go through some categories. For those of you who are listening, if you're listening on YouTube, comment if there are any categories of games that you want us to talk about next week. That being said, we're going to do best game, ugliest game, potential upset, best uniform matchup, and best environment. So I'm going to start. I think the best game, in my opinion, I think is going to be North Dakota State, Colorado. I think that game is going to be absolutely electric. I think it's going to come down to the wire. That game's in Colorado, night game, Thursday night, one of the first games of the weekend. I'm super excited for that one. I think it might be the best game of the whole slate, and it's happening on Thursday night.
Yeah, there are a lot of really good games here, but I think the one that I'm not going to pick Clemson, Georgia. I just want to say that to any of the Clemson fans that know I'm a Clemson fan. I'm just saying I'm not picking that because I don't want to be biased. But
yeah, I didn't want to pick Texas A&M.
Exactly. So
it's not fair to me. Obviously, I will be watching.
Right. Like for me, the game I'm most excited for would be Texas A&M versus Notre Dame. Like that's a game where if people are like, like, let's go out to the bar, let's do this. It's like, I don't know if I have that in me because this game is on. It's 7:30 Saturday night. It's like I kind of would rather just be locked in on that. Because that's really like the first game, in my opinion, that's like, this is so like the magnitude of it is extremely high, and a lot of information will be learned, and it should be really high end football as well. Get to see Mikey Elko, how that Texas A&M team ends up playing. I have both those teams in the playoffs, so I hope that they both look really good.
Yeah. Should be a great game. The ugliest game. I wasn't sure how to interpret this, so I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put a game on here that I think might be the final might be 12-7. And for me, that's Miami of Ohio and Northwestern. Miami of Ohio, I think, has the best defense in the MAC and one of the best defenses in the group of five. And Northwestern was a solid defensive team last year, a little grit and grind. This game is at Northwestern. It'll be the first game in their practice stadium that they're using for games this year.
It should be beautiful, but yeah.
Yeah. But I think it has a potential to just be an ugly, ugly football game. And I love that. I think it could be fun.
Yeah. And there are a couple of ways to interpret this. I interpreted it a little different than you did. It seems, because the two options I was looking at were Southeast Missouri State at New Mexico State, and then Nichols at Louisiana Tech. Those are the two I'm choosing from. I'll probably go with Nichols, Louisiana Tech, because I do think that New Mexico State's probably bad enough to lose to this weird team, and maybe that game ends up being fun. But Louisiana Tech's going to be they're a competent enough team where they probably beat Nichols 27 to 10. It's just if you watched that game, it's overkill. There's other stuff to be watching. I know we all love college football, but I can't get behind that one. So that's my pick.
I love that. You just went for the if you watch this, you are either gambling too much or a fan, and I love that. Love it. All right, the upset of the week. It's a decent sized upset based on what the ranking is, but the spread isn't that wide. I'm going LSU or USC over LSU.
No way.
I have not been a believer in Brian Kelly. I think big game Brian Kelly stinks. I think Miller Moss is legit, and I'm excited to see what this USC defense looks like without Alex Grinch as the defensive coordinator. We get Garrett Nussmeier. We get a completely new offense. Mike Denbrock's gone from LSU. What do they look like? I'm taking USC over LSU. I love, and a Sunday night standalone game should be scenes.
Yeah. That was my pick as well. Which I can give a different pick because we'll both clearly be picking that in our game picks for the graphic. Obviously it's a 4.5 point underdog spread, so it's not anything crazy, but yeah, I think that's I feel really good about this USC team. I don't know why. Maybe I'm falling into a trap again. I'll try to find another one just really quick that I think could maybe happen. I think maybe a Charlotte could beat JMU. JMU has this weird opening.
Yeah, a little hangover after last season kind of
Charlotte,
deal.
Biff Poggi, dude. Everyone's saying they're bad, but I think Charlotte could pull off a little shocker in that sense. And then there's nothing else that I'm really willing to take a swing at. Could Miami, Ohio beat Northwestern? Yeah, I think so. But I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah, that's not. I don't think that's too crazy of an upset. So fair. Best uniform matchup.
I could say Clemson beating Georgia.
Hey, there you go. There you go. All right.
That will be my pick. Actually, I'm changing it. It's no longer USC.
Okay.
It's Clemson over Georgia because I do have that in my ACC predictions, all that, blah blah blah. Yeah, that is that's happening.
Perfect,
on, baby.
Please. Love it. Love that. Uniform matchup. I was between a couple of games here. I think that there's Arkansas Pine Bluff, Arkansas is actually like a really underrated uniform matchup. FAU, Michigan State, the red, white, and blue, and the green and white, I think could be a lot of fun. TCU, Stanford, the purple and the red, I think could be a really interesting uniform matchup. But I am going to go with, and I just hate that I'm saying this. I'm going to go with Kent State and Pittsburgh.
Ugh.
It's gold and blue and gold and blue and gold and blue, and I think that's going to be a sick uniform matchup.
I feel like that could be the choice I've ever heard. That's
it's so bad that it's good. It's so bad that it's good.
Okay. Yeah, good pick, man. I feel like
good pick, man.
Yeah,
that felt a little fucking sarcastic, huh?
I feel like maybe I'll go Ole Miss Furman here. Because I'm trying to remind myself, do Furman wear all purple jerseys or no? Or it's kind of more like a black and purple possibly sometimes.
Their road uniforms are solid.
Yeah, and then obviously Ole Miss has really cool jerseys, so that feels like a safe pick for me.
Yep. Yeah, it's no Kent State Pittsburgh. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Incredible.
Kent State Pittsburgh.
I also don't think, unless I'm mistaken, I don't think we have any like specialty jerseys or specialty uniforms this weekend either. So that'll be, we'll be able to better predict that going forward. Best environment, Nick, I hope that we have the same one here. I can't see a world where we don't. Maybe I'm wrong. It's gotta be Penn State at West Virginia and Morgantown. There's just no way that that's not the best environment in college football week 1. I'll die on that hill. That game should be absolutely electric.
Yeah, it's tough just because, like obviously, if we're talking about like true environment, we're talking, the tailgate scene, the town itself, blah, blah, blah. Like, where would I rather be? And I'd probably rather be in Morgantown for that game than in College Station. But if we're talking about like the overall energy and the weight of it, like it's got to be A&M. It's got to be College Station, right? Like
that's fair. That's fair. I just figured if I was a neutral fan and I wanted to have an awesome time at a college football game this weekend, I would go to West Virginia personally, but
yeah. And I think that that's like very fair. But if I were a neutral fan who loved college football, I think I would just barely rather just see the Texas A&M Notre Dame game and feel, I feel like there's just a little
top 20 matchup, college game day.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That type of thing where it's like, yeah, especially with game day and all that. So I'm going to go College Station.
All right. Well, if you did want to go to one of those games, you can use SeatGeek to get there. Promo code SmashHitsSports gets you $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. So yeah, that is where I would go if I could go to a game this weekend. All right, let's get into the game previews, Nick. We have college football 5 straight days.
Yep.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's one of my favorite weekends of the year. You get an extra day, Monday off of work. Like Thursday night, it eases you into the weekend. I am so excited for this first weekend's slate of games, and it starts Thursday night. We have 2 games on the Thursday night slate that we'll talk about, North Carolina, Minnesota, and then North Dakota State, Colorado. Nick, North Carolina. I don't know if you remember the North Carolina game, App State in 2022, that 63-61 absolute unbelievable game.
I'll never forget
and then
where I was when I watched it. Yes.
Same. And a noon kickoff. And then last year we had North Carolina, South Carolina play. Awesome game. But they have won 3 straight regular season openers, or 2 consecutive regular season openers in super exciting fashion. And they open up this year at Minnesota. This game is a 1-point spread, super tight.
Really?
I think this could be like a really interesting game because Minnesota has a pretty stout defense, and I'm excited to see Amari and Hampton and then what this North Carolina offense looks like with Max Johnson at the helm instead of Drake May.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a battle of like the Minnesota offensive line versus like Kamen Rucker and some of the talent UNC has on that end. I trust, Hampton to be good, but I don't trust like what Max Johnson is that their starting quarterback. Like,
Yeah.
I think UNC is going to look a lot different than we've seen them during the Sam Howell and Drake May era, where it's like, okay, this team's not great, but like at least they're kind of fun. I don't think this is going to be a very fun team. It's going to be like they're going to look a little Big Ten-y this year, where they're just handing the ball off. Hampton's going to do as much as he can, and I think Minnesota's going to be able to outperform offensively. And like you said, maybe it's due time for UNC to drop one of these close games that they keep winning early in the season, blah, blah, blah. I had no idea. So Minnesota's the favorite by 1.5 from what I just looked up. I have Minnesota, and I've had it for a while now. Yeah, give me the Gophers.
And Nick, with our first pick of the year, we differ. And I love that. I love that. We will be keeping track of our picks all season long. We'll see who wins. I won football last year, but you won basketball last year. So
which makes sense.
Excited to see what this season brings. Both races were very close. Football, I think, was a little closer than basketball. You beat me by a pretty decent margin in basketball, but both races were pretty close. So that's pick number one. North Dakota State, Colorado. Colorado is a 9.5-point favorite. This game is in Boulder, and it's going to take everything in me not to pick North Dakota State. It's going to take everything in me not to pick North Dakota State. That power offense, their quarterback he's going into his senior year. He was a 3-year starter before this. They're going to be ready, man. Do you think Colorado is going to be ready? Because
is this at Colorado?
I don't know. This game's at Colorado.
Yeah, so it has to be Colorado for me. It's one of those weird spreads where it's like, ooh, so Vegas thinks it's possible that North Dakota State wins this game. And if one or two things in the middle of the game, like one of those random 6-second plays that everyone always talks about, if a couple of those go in the Bison's favor, then we could be talking about like the panic setting in and Dion Shadur just being like, wait, what the hell? We're losing late in this game. What's going on? I can see that happening. I can close my eyes and picture that. But I think Colorado should be able to score pretty easily. That's my thing. I think, will they be able to stop North Dakota State and their bulldozing ways? Maybe not. So it should be a pretty fun game. But I got to go Colorado.
Yeah, the total on that is 59, so it should be pretty high scoring. But I'm going Colorado as well. I think at the end of the day, Colorado's heard all the talk. They've heard all the talk, and I think they're going to back it up a little bit this year. I think they've gotten a lot better in the trenches. So give me Colorado. I will say I'm taking North Dakota State to cover the plus 9.5. Though.
Yeah, which
I will be on North Dakota State for the betting side. All right, Friday night, not really a whole lot. There's TCU, Stanford, nothing crazy. A nice little kind of easy into the weekend a little bit on Friday. It looks like there's 6 games. FAU, Michigan State is playing. But yeah, nothing too crazy. Saturday, we start, Nick, with your Clemson Tigers and the Georgia Bulldogs. 13.5-point favorites.
Yeah.
You're picking Clemson.
I am. I am.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Listen, my main thing is, do I think this Clemson team is better or worse than the 2022 Clemson team, or 2021 into 2022 Clemson team that lost to Georgia in Charlotte? Because that Georgia team was probably better than this Georgia team, considering they went undefeated and won the national championship and were unbelievably good. And like in that game, Clemson really could have / should have won. It was a DJU pick six away from being 3-3 at the end of the game going into overtime. Do I think we're going to see anything like that again? Not necessarily. I mean, Georgia doesn't have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter on the same team again, right? Like that's, and Clemson is, they don't have the same defense, although I still think this defense in Clemson is amazing. I just feel like, yes, this Clemson team is better and this Georgia team is worse, and Clemson lost by 7 there. Georgia might have, a chip on their shoulder in a sense, where they're like, we got left out of the playoff. We need to make sure we dominate every game so that we make it, blah, blah, blah. That could happen. I don't know what Dabo's saying to the players down there to fire him up, but he probably doesn't need to say anything because we're playing the number 1 team in the country. This is a massive opportunity. And all Kate Klubnik needs to do, all our offense needs to do is score when we get to the red zone. Just one time and get the nerves out of the fact that we were the best team at making it to the red zone and the worst team at scoring points when we got there, which is a stat that has never existed in any sport ever. You would have to assume that we get down there, just punch it in, film off of, find Troy Stellato or Tyler Brown or Antonio Williams, Jake Briningstool. We have the pieces, man. It's like, is Kate Klubnik is he gonna piss down his leg? Maybe. But I'm banking on him not pissing down his leg. And if that's the case, then yeah, I think that we could absolutely win. I think the spread's a little bit disrespectful, if I'm being honest.
Love it. I'm taking Georgia.
Yep.
I think they are just the best team in college football this year. That's not to say that this shouldn't be a really good game. I think it will be a phenomenal football game. In terms of high level football, I think this is the highest level football we will see all weekend is between these two teams. It's going to be a great game and a potential future college football playoff matchup. So very, very exciting to see. That being said, Penn State, West Virginia is a completely different game in terms of this West Virginia expectations. Some people are high on them. Some people aren't. Penn State needs to get over the hump. They're a top 10 team preseason. People are pissed off because are they really a top 10 team? They have to go into Morgantown, West Virginia and win on night 1. And I think that this is going to be a phenomenal start to Penn State's year. I think James Franklin goes in. I think he beats West Virginia. I think this is they put on a phenomenal defensive performance because that's what this Penn State team can hang their hat on. Give me the Nittany Lions in this game. I think they win. I think they win handedly. West Virginia's an 8.5-point dog. I'm taking Penn State here.
Yeah, I agree. I think we could see a situation where it's week 1 jitters, that type of thing, where maybe it's 10-6 at halftime, and it's oh my god, anything could happen in the second half, and then the game ends up 24-6, or something where it's just Penn State pulls away at the end, and we're talking next week yeah, they look as good as advertised. It was just maybe a rocky start. I don't think Penn State's gonna just go out there and blow my socks off. I hope they do. But I'm definitely going Penn State, and I like them to cover the spread as well.
Yep. Love that. Love that. So we're both on the same side there. Miami at Florida. I am not as high on this Miami team as you are. I think this Florida team is actually pretty underrated. This game is a 2.5-point spread, Nick.
Yeah.
Vegas thinks that this is going to be a tight game. Florida, week 1 of last year, beat Utah to start the year, another ranked opponent. And I think they're going to do it again this year. Give me the Gators.
Yeah. I'm going Miami.
Also, remember that Anthony Richardson broken sack throw into the end zone for the 2-point? Oh,
that was
one of the craziest plays of that season.
And I had Utah winning that game, and I Cam Rising threw the interception at the goal line. I was just oh my god, what a heartbreaking way to start the gambling year. So Maybe I'll avoid this game because Florida is clearly cursed in that sense on my end, but I am going Miami. I am really high on this Miami team. I think the spread is probably it's like a 4 or 5 point boost. The fact that it's in state and it's in Gainesville. And,
Yep.
I'm not sure Miami fans are going to travel as well as, maybe some people would expect. I think it's going to be really orange and blue there. And so, can Miami overcome that? I think with Cam Ward and, Damian Martinez and Restrepo and a pretty good O-line and Ruben Bain on the defensive end. And they're just so good, dude. They're stacked, and I like them to win this game. But I don't think I'm going to bet on it. I'm afraid.
That is totally fair. Keeping it moving. Ohio at Syracuse is a very interesting game. Not sure what the line is on this one. But Syracuse gets a really interesting matchup in week 1 where they have to play, this is Kyle McCord's first game with the Orange, right? What are we going to see with them? Syracuse, Nick, I know you are very high on. How do you have this game going?
Yeah, I mean, I don't Ohio lost their quarterback, right? Didn't he transfer somewhere?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. He transferred to IU.
Yeah. So that was the one thing about Ohio that was kind of enticing in a sense to be like, oh, maybe they could pull off an upset here, an upset there. I don't think this should be a close game. I think this would be like a 42-21 something. I don't know what the spread is, if I'm being honest, but I like Syracuse in this for sure. It's another one of those situations where it's like, yes, I'm high on Syracuse, so I'm going to be watching these games intently, just to see was I just far off, or like Syracuse, are they going to show me this could be a 9-win team? This could be a really good season. We'll have to see, but I'm going to.
Yep. Syracuse is a 17.5-point favorite.
Yeah, makes sense.
So big favorite. I am on the Qs as well. Miami of Ohio Northwestern. I think I said this game could get ugly. And you know who wins ugly, weird, goofy ass football games? The MAC, because that's what they live and breathe, Nick. So give me Miami of Ohio upsetting Northwestern at Northwestern. Just a wild start to the year for Northwestern. And I think this could be one of the weirdest games of the entire slate.
Yeah. And I mean, Northwestern obviously, you want to say, oh, home field advantage, but it's barely exists because they're playing with no bleachers. I'm going with Northwestern though. I just have I completely agree that, I mean, this is a coin flip for me. If you're going to go Miami, Ohio, I'll go Northwestern. I like this Northwestern team. I think that people are saying oh, last year was kind of fluky. I don't know. I say why can't they do it again? Why can't we believe in this Northwestern team to just take care of business?
Love it. Another game that we differ on. All right. Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Nick, you're going to have to give your pick for my sanity before I give my pick for my sanity.
Yeah, I'm going Texas A&M, but I think we all know what the people want to hear, and they want to hear what you have to say about this. So, floor is yours.
All right. Year after year, it's Notre Dame's overrated. Notre Dame can't get it done. Notre Dame against ranked opponents, they're terrible. And year after year, they've been right. The people have been right. And at some point, you just have to say, fuck it. Let's go play football, man. And does this Notre Dame team walk into College Station and beat a Texas A&M team that, by all looks phenomenal on paper? The answer to that question, Nick, is yes. Yes. Hell yes. Here's the thing, Nick. I like Notre Dame a lot. And do I have Notre Dame losing this game in my preseason prediction that dropped 2 days ago and we just recorded an hour before this? Yes, I do. But that being said, I'm going to pick Notre Dame to win this game. Here's why. This Texas A&M team was not good last year. Why do we think that Mike Elko is going to change the entire culture around this program in 6 months? I understand that he's a great coach, and I think long-term he is going to have this Texas A&M team in a great position. I think at points this year he will have this Texas A&M team in a great position. I think that they could win 8-9 games. I think I had them going 9-3. But not today. Not this Saturday. Give me the Irish by 90. In all seriousness, though, I will take Notre Dame to win. It's a 3-point spread. Texas A&M is the favorite. But I'm riding with Notre Dame. I can't not. It goes against every fiber of my being to pick another team. I just won't fucking do it. So
Yeah.
give me
It's in the
Notre
same
Dame.
tune of why I'm picking Clemson and you're picking Georgia, right? Like now, there was a world where I was thinking like, oh, I could pick Notre Dame here. I do like Notre Dame a lot, but like for me to counter your argument, I guess, of like, oh, Mike Elko is going to change the culture, blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, I think when a culture is that bad, like you saw it in Jacksonville, when Urban Meyer got fired, and the next year the Jags were just, I think they made the playoffs and won a playoff game. That was the year they beat the Chargers with that big comeback. After being so awful because of their coach and culture, I think Jimbo Fisher was running a similar scheme in the sense of like, it was just a disaster. And Mike Elko, I really trust. Also, Wegman got hurt last year. Connor Wegman is back. I am very high on his abilities. I think he's really good. So was Texas A&M bad last year? Yes, but now they have their star quarterback, and they always do well in the transfer portal because they have so much money that they like to spend. So I don't know. Maybe they don't win this game, but yes, I think Texas A&M will be like a true contender. I have them making the college football playoff. I don't think the outcome of this game doesn't really matter as far as the college football playoff goes in my mind, because I think both teams are going to make it or at least be hard on the bubble by the end. So, well, I guess in that case, it would matter. But I'm going A&M. I like it.
Yep. Love it. And I think this might be the most important game in terms of the college football playoff. I know obviously there is Clemson, Georgia, but I think both of those teams could win their conference, and therefore that game, like the result doesn't matter. Whereas I don't think Texas A&M can win the SEC, and Notre Dame doesn't have a conference to win. So this game could mean a shit ton in terms of the, getting in as an at-large.
That's a very good
So
point.
in my mind, this could be one of the most important games on the schedule. The other most important game on the schedule in terms of playoff positioning potentially is USC LSU Sunday night, the standalone game. LSU has played in 3 straight Sunday night games, if I'm not mistaken now.
Well, they did back-to-back
they played
Florida State, right?
Back-to-back with Florida State, and now they are playing USC. They lost both of those Florida State games. I've put a lot of money on those LSU teams to win, and I have been wrong both times. I'm not going to do that again. I just can't do it again. I've watched Brian Kelly lose seasoning openers 2 straight years now. I'm not going to sit back and just idly not follow this trend and take USC here, because I believe in Miller Moss. I believe in Lincoln Riley. I believe in this USC team. But more importantly than any of that, I believe in Brian Kelly's ability to blow a big game. And I think he does it again this Sunday.
Yeah, and this is my thing, is that I feel like a lot of people are looking at USC and they were looking at like, oh, last year they weren't that good, and now Caleb Williams is gone, and like LSU is LSU, so they're going to win. It's like LSU, I think, probably lost more of what matters. And then if we're talking coaching, easy to forget, fucking Lincoln Riley is, as far as like the regular season goes and whatnot, I'd take him over Brian Kelly for sure. He's probably been to the playoff more than Brian Kelly with all those Oklahoma teams.
It's 2-2.
It's 2-2, but it's just the idea that like I trust this Miller Moss, Zachariah Branch. You got Monheim and a good offensive line. Like this offense for USC, I think is going to look really good, really quick. And LSU, I think the jury's out a little bit. I'm not sure what to expect offensively there. So should probably be like high scoring, and there will be points where I'm like, oh, I was wrong. USC's going to lose, but by the end, I'm going USC.
Love it. Love it. Nick, this game. So I'm looking at my college football betting guide, and I'm looking at teams that score the damn football. So the 25 best teams to the over last season, LSU was one at 92.3% to the over, and USC was 4 at 76.9% to the over. All these teams do is score the damn football. I mean, this game could have 100 points scored. The total on it is 63.5. And I can tell you this right now, Nick, I'm hammering that fucking over.
Yeah.
Just on principle.
I'm
just on principle.
Like LSU was probably so good against the over because they scored like these like two play drive touchdowns where it was like an 80-yard bomb to Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, blah, blah, blah. So I don't think we're going to see that from LSU this year, which means more methodical drives and less, possessions and chances. But I think that makes sense why the over-under would be a little lower than you'd expect, but I still probably like the over. I don't know about 50s, but like 38, 35 would kind of smash the over, and that's something that I could absolutely see.
Yep. Love it. And then Monday night, probably wouldn't have put this game on our picket list, but Florida State did lose this weekend. They now play at home against Boston College, 17-point favorites. I'm picking Florida State to win this game.
How funny would that be if they lost this game?
If they went 0-2, and to start, the thing is like it's not just a regular 0-2 to start conference play. I mean, that would be crippling. Yeah. So something to monitor here. I'm sure, it'll be a Monday night, 7:30 kickoff. Like the tomahawk chop is going to be unbelievably loud. The visuals from this game will be spectacular, but I'm really interested to see how this Florida State team looks, because if they don't come out with some confidence, I have some concerns with this team going forward. If they truly want to be a potential college football playoff team, they need to come out and show it. So I'm taking Florida State, but this will be a game. I mean, it's the only game on, but it will be a game I absolutely will watch.
A lot of people are going to be tuned in. Like the pressure is on for Florida State now, right? So this is kind of like, it matters a lot more than you would think, which is kind of why I like the implementation of the 12-team playoff, because in the past you could argue that like Florida State loses to Georgia Tech, oh, they're cooked. Because they were undefeated last year, didn't make it. Now they have a loss. How are they going to make it this year? So now it's like, ooh, every single game they play has the maximum amount of weight possible, and then they could lose again, and it would probably stay that way. Must watch television. It would have been a good Jersey matchup pick as well that neither of us went with.
Yeah.
But I'm going Florida State as well. I'll just be rooting for Boston College with all my might.
Love that. I think it's Brandon Walker has the quote where it's like, hope is the most valuable currency in college football, but hate is the most abundant. And I love that, because there's nothing better than good college football hate.
Oh, yeah.
All right. That being said, right before we get into our best bets, home field, I'm wearing the Here Come the Irish Dunking Irishman shirt from Home Field. They have the best college merch in the game. If you are, looking to go to a game this year, rocking some sick, unique stuff to the game, to the tailgates, you can get all of that at Home Field. Use code NICK15 for 15% off your first purchase. The link is in the description of this video or in our bios. They truly make the best college football merch. But my favorite bet of the weekend, I'm going to give you all one, and it is Virginia Tech minus 13.5. Okay. All of this information is at that guide in the link in my bio, but I'm going to give it to you here now. Vanderbilt is 2-7 against the spread as a dog. They were 1-5 against the spread at home last season. Virginia Tech, was 4-2 against the spread at home and 6-2 against the spread as a favorite. And they are 13.5 points against Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech's going to win this game by 40, Nick. 40. 4-0. I'm going to take a minus 13.5. I'm going to take a minus 20.5. I might take a minus 27.5. This game will be a bloodbath. Virginia Tech, the play officially, Virginia Tech minus 13.5. I think they dog walk Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and I want to offer just the, Vegas is never that wrong theory of like it is a little concerning that the spread is that low. I don't know what it entails per se, but it's possible that they know something we don't. We will have to see. Obviously, Clemson spread is a pick because I'm taking them to win the game. I don't recommend taking them to win the game, but I do really like the spread. If
13.5 is a lot of points with two really good defenses.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if I had to throw something crazy out there, why not go Old Dominion plus 20.5 versus South Carolina and keep the hate train running? Fuck you, South Carolina. You're not going to be good this year.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting game because I don't think Old Dominion is very good, and I also think South Carolina is not very good. So 20.5 is a lot of points. That's one of those spreads where it starts getting up there, and you're just like, unless South Carolina gets out to a 30-0 lead at the beginning of the game, like Old Dominion could absolutely keep that within 20, no problem.
Yeah, and the back door's open for it's 34-7. South Carolina's cruising. But it's like, but a touchdown away from winning this bet, that type of thing. So,
yep, absolutely. All right, so that's it for our week 1 preview. Nick, college football is back. It feels good. This is truly, it's the best sport in the world, and this is the best time of the year. So if you guys like this content, you want to see more of it, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And the best way to help us out is to be a friend, tell a friend if you guys love the show, and we will see you in the next one.